And welcome back. It's time for Game Plan 2017. Polycarp Igathe stays with us, but joining us now is our resident analyst, Herman Manyora. To my immediate right and to my far right is Ambrose Weda, who's a city lawyer. You're welcome to the program. Manyora, let me begin with you. Did Jubilee get it right with the choice of Polycarp?
I've been wondering, looking at Mike Mbuvi Sonko's choice and Jubilee's choice. It tells a story, and I find the story very interesting because it's an experiment that, if it works, will be perhaps the first in the world. you know, Anne. Political systems like governments are run by an individual at the top. It could be collegial. You can see when this nurse has a problem, a collegial. But it's like a bedroom in somebody's house and is married. You could be very good friends, but it doesn't go beyond the sitting room. You can't go in somebody's bedroom. Why do people elect a leader like a governor or a president? Because he makes decisions. And some of these decisions are made in moments where that brilliant deputy may not be there. If, for example, the president summoned the governor to make a quick decision on something, that brilliant deputy will not be there. And in the political...
Unless the deputy is the one who will be summoned.
Yeah, which is strange.
Right.
And you know, in the political arrangements, almost everywhere, there is lobbying. And this lobbying, sometimes by people who help the governor, people get to power and so on and so forth. They lobby the governor. They lobby the president. They can't lobby the deputy. And therefore, it is really tricky if you tell me that I'm inadequate, but I can get Anne to push things around. In politics, it can't work, not in government.
So not the right choice as far as you're concerned. No. But it almost sounds like you're saying Jubilee voters made the wrong choice for governor, as opposed to saying that Jubilee made the wrong choice for deputy governor.
No, I'm saying the choice of deputy then creates a narrative that you can have an effective governor whom you all agree is not capable. But then you bring somebody under him and say, now you are curing it. I'm saying that narrative is faulty. Yeah, from the start it is faulty. That's what I mean.
Ambrose?
I think armchair politicians seem to puke over the wishes of the majority.
Puke?
Yes, they see a choice like Sonko and they sit in their own high-class homes and they say this is nonsense. And this is where the problem is. Sonko is loved by people. People who vote, and voting, the votes are equal. Whether you're a professor,
right, or
you are pushing or pulling the mkokoteni, the votes are equal. Let us respect those votes as and when they are cast. This time they cast them for Sonko. But one thing I think Sonko team did was fairly brilliant. When they chose my brother here, then I think you are dealing with a fairly brilliant governor. Running mates and cabinet members and vice presidents are normally picked on the basis of complementarity. A good leader is not required and need not know everything. He only needs to know how to select the correct people, the right people with the right knowledge, with the right stamina, right energy. Then decisions are not made on the spur of the moment, the way my brother says. When we go to court, I am a lawyer and one of the best in this continent. When you go to court, oh yes, when you go to court, the decision is made by the judge. It's not made by us. But he hears two sides. On the basis of those two sides, he says, adding to my knowledge, I make this decision. And that's how world-class decisions have been made.
This was a good decision.
So this was a good decision. Why do I say so? One, he brings in a voting block. I heard you saying, and it's like, which voting block? When you're choosing a running mate, you must look around. That's why Raila did not choose Kidero.
Which vote block does he bring?
I'll come to it. That's why President Uhuru did not choose Waititu or Weda. Yeah. You get it?
That's why he didn't choose Weda.
So although he himself cannot say, Governor Sonko is a Mkamba. He comes from the Kamba nation. The other major voting block in this city is the Kikuyu Meru Imbu nation. You get it? It is easier if you are politically wise that when you are choosing a running mate, you go for that nation. That is why even Kedera also went for the Kamba nation. That's why Raila also went for the Kamba nation. So the moment they see him, that's correct. Number two, he's proven that he's a brilliant guy. Number three, okay, he compliments the governor when it comes to the work at hand.
All right.
So it was a perfect.
So it is a perfect choice. All right. And this is a question that we're asking online. He's really happy about that. We'll see what the public has to say about it. Does the choice of Polycarp Igathe basically complement Sonko's chances? So we'll hear from you at the end of this broadcast, so please do tweet us, and we're going to be collating those results very shortly. You talked about the constituency that Polycarp brings, and Polycarp, in the first part of our interview, you talked about Senator Sonko and the fact that he brought in the largest votes in the last election in this part of the country. But there is a question now as to whether Jubilee is overplaying that popularity or if it has waned since the last election. I say this because in the nominations, Sonko got 138,185 votes. Most governors who won their seats were winning with the region of 200,000, 300,000. As of December 2016, I believe, the votes in the county were about 1.8 million or so. So with 130-something thousand votes, are we perhaps overplaying the popularity of this candidate? And you can imagine the vote block that he appeals to came out en masse to vote for him during the party primaries. What more is there? Or do you bring in the balance of 800,000?
Mark my words, there was a voting block that had not decided on who to go for governor of Nairobi. It is awake. You just need to walk the streets of this city to actually know what the Sonko Igathe ticket has just done. And I can guarantee you, come August 8th, not just for Sonko Igathe, but for the Jubilee leadership, President Uhuru Kenyatta, Deputy President William Ruto, and Sonko Igathe will deliver a landslide in this city.
Do you believe so? Are we overplaying the popularity of Sonko?
Well, no doubt Sonko is popular as a grassroots fellow, but there are other dynamics too. I'm happy and glad the weather talks about the Kikuyu vote. How easy the Kikuyu decide to vote for Peter Kenneth? This is Kenya, and people vote ethnic. And this is not just empty thinking. Look at it, Anne. Polycarp comes from the business community. I heard him talk about big taxpayers. The question is this: will these big taxpayers be comfortable choosing Sonko as opposed to Peter Kenneth, for example? The same taxpayers.
Does Peter Kenneth offer both things, the politics and the business,
because
in one person?
He's one. He's a politician, he's a manager, and he's all the good things you can look for in a leader if you are choosing a governor, even a president. So I'm asking, the same constituency you are talking about, of brilliance, people like you, taxpayers who pay, you talk about 1.8 trillion at some point, I was watching from the other room. Would a person like that, and I want to ask you, Polycarp, if it were you casting your vote, and there was a Peter Kenneth there, and there was a Sonko there, tough, shrewd, rich, a businessman like you, who would you vote?
And a doctor, Evans Kidero as well, and a Miguna.
Who would you vote?
Can I take that?
No, the question is directed to him. Thank you.
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
The conception that first of all, let me tell you, there's a large misconception that the candidate you talked about is a good manager. They are not. I've been in private sector for 20 years.
Peter Kenneth.
And they are exactly opposite of exactly what you just said. And number two, there's a lot of...
Peter Kenneth is a bad manager. Polycarp, you're in politics now. If you're going to say it. I don't think Peter Kenneth has seen in business. The question, sir. Polycarp,
so can you tell me what has that candidate ever delivered?
You know
that proves they are a good manager. You asserted that he's a good manager. You asserted that he's a good manager. Give me the facts.
Polycarp.
Give me the facts.
Let me tell you one of this.
So can you tell me what has that candidate ever delivered? You know that that proves they are a good manager. You asserted you asserted that he's a good manager. Give me the facts.
Polycarp. welcome to politics. Any politics, it is about perception.
One at a time, Prof.
If you walk in the streets of Nairobi or anywhere in this country, people will tell you Peter Kenneth is a capable manager and politician.
Perception.
That's perception. You're the only
that's what rules in politics.
You're the only person who knows that in town.
Allow me to take this. Allow me to take this.
Please go ahead.
The person that carries the day in this city is that person who is in the lower cadre. I want you to look at history. Look at those who have succeeded in the Nairobi politics. Raila Odinga, the late, you take Waititu, you take Mwenge.
You tomboy, you can go on.
Yes, there are people who could go to Mathare and have a cup of tea and have their meat and they love it.
Right.
This Kenneth category, okay? They can only go there to have votes. There is one thing this gentleman brings on the table that Kidero benefited for. The middle class, the high middle class, like Professor here, who feared Waititu. So eventually they voted the middle class, the class that Peter Kenneth attracts. They actually voted for
Kidero.
And that is what he cures when he comes in. When you say, ask the big guys who don't like Songo, say, yes, Uganda is there, the question is answered.
But we have already
let me add. Let me tell you.
Listen, Weda.
Let me finish. Well, this is not to senior common. Where you face as they are protection. Oh my goodness. You have agreed, and it is true, that the person whose vote counts is the small guy in this city, and they love it.
You are making a mistake. We need to correct him a bit.
Professor,
the people of Nairobi will be voting for one Mike Mbuvi Sonko, not the Polycarp. That is period. That's not.
Where do you get that from?
People vote for the Republic of Kenya. They voted for Uhuru Kenyatta.
So why did they come back before
they voted for Trump? They are not voting for Mike Pence.
Where are you coming from? You are coming from
it's not senior common.
Professor, allow me to educate you about
learning continues.
The only competence that candidate you spoke about has is a pathological preoccupation with himself. He's narcissistic. He came in as a Jubilee candidate and announced to everybody that he will never run on any other ticket. Now he's announcing that he's an independent.
He's a narcissist.
Independent from what? And you know Narcissus, you are a professor, you should know Narcissus. He died of looking in the mirror at himself.
Wow. Peter Kenneth, if you are watching, Polycarp, you are not joking.
Welcome to politics. Polycarp is learning in politics. I think you are a good student. You learn fast.
No, I can tell you. To himself. He loves himself.
Okay.
And Nairobi will teach him on August 8th, because politics is not kind, it's not polite. Remember, I know where I came. I know I know the pool I've jumped into. And
you bring the issues-based look. You know, you're bringing a new way of communicating in politics, and you were discussing it. I must say, I am surprised to hear you refer to your opponents as narcissists who love themselves.
That's just a tough English.
I'm not saying it's that. I'm just saying I'm surprised.
She's surprised.
Why are you surprised?
Because you come up.
Welcome to surprise.
I'm quite happy to be here in the world of surprises. Let's talk about
even me originally. Originally, when I looked at my brother Sonko, I said it's a fighter. We need him where there's a lot of fight. But when we ended up with Peter Kenneth, Peter Kenneth is a good guy, very respected, but he's too cold for Nairobi. He's a guy that if he was to go down inside Mathare Valley and I tell him, Governor, let's go to our cousins, he won't have a cup of tea.
Why? That's perception.
There are people top class. They are high class people. Their heart is high.
You're talking about Nairobi. This is the man who's been the Gatang. I mean, if I may coin the phrase shags. This is a man who has run up country. Yes,
up country. And you are richer than some places here in Nairobi.
Fair enough, but still, I mean, this is the capital. There would be far more exposure here.
if you look at this website, we want sometimes in Nairobi for you to succeed. What I've seen, occasionally you must somersault along the road, right?
I think
all those who have succeeded, yeah.
Polycarp is okay.
If you just push him too hard for the people of Nairobi, he will do it.
Okay.
And I think we are losing focus.
Right.
I think the focus, according to me, was would you cure Sonko's inadequacies by giving him a good running mate? And the answer is basically no.
He doesn't have inadequacies.
Would that running mate, according to your argument, because he is Kikuyu, bring the Kikuyu vote? And since Kenyans vote on tribal line, why would then the Kikuyu vote for a Kikuyu who is at the head of the ticket, which is Peter Kenneth? I'm just reasoning. I'm just reasoning.
Peter Kenneth comes in as a spoiler. Would you concede, perhaps, that Peter Kenneth comes in as a bit of a spoiler?
There are some communities in this country that do not joke with their votes, and therefore they know how to select the winning ones. You get it? One of that community is the Kikuyu nation. So do not think they will give Kidogo here, Kidogo there. If the winning ticket is the Sonko, you see it there. And they have done it. The other time President Uhuru was running, and they were saying this is a criminal, Hague, what. And Martha Karua was running, clean lady, wonderful, strong. They did not even waste 5,000 votes.
You will excommunicate.
Please. And we know you will
fair enough. I wanted to move on to the question of the issues, and one of the big issues in the capital, Polycarp, of course, is the issue of debt. The incumbent governor has said that the national government owes City Hall 69 billion shillings in parking and licensing fees, and 11 billion shillings in land rates, and has blamed, the failure to get these payments on his ability to, deliver for city residents. What would you do, number one, to recoup this massive debt loss, and if national government continues to take the time that it has taken to clear up this debt, how do you intend to get the county running?
There's a monumental revenue collection tool. I'm calling it a monumental tragedy. Revenue collection tool, which I want to call a monumental tragedy, called Jumbo Pay. Before you talk about central government, if there's a county government that should be actually meeting a lot of its revenue needs, is County of Nairobi. But if you look at this thing called Jumbo Pay, where it's operated from, how it's connected to the procure to pay system of Nairobi City Council, it's very disappointing. So before you even blame the weather, don't blame the weather. You change your clothes when you're a manager. If it's hot, you remove your jacket. When it's raining, you put in an umbrella. And that's what we bring into the to office. And I think revenue collection is really one of the biggest weaknesses of the current administration. They have failed in own internal revenue collection, and when you can't collect your own revenue, people, I would hesitate to start blaming central government before you say, and even absorption. Let me tell you, I want you to look at whether they have absorbed even the funds they've been given in the past. And right now I'm very busy reading up reports of the Nairobi County government, and as we launch our manifesto, I will show you how weak the current administration in Nairobi County has been in absorbing even the funds given by central government. They actually give them, all of them, back in most, quite a large percentage tends to go back because they lack the capacity to absorb the budget they get from central government. So I think it's not a fair point to say that national government is not allocating them funding.
I didn't say they're not allocating, I said they're not paying them. They're indebted to this county to the tune of 80 billion shillings.
Oh, okay. Government debt, that I think is a problem across all the entire system. We need to fix it. Coming from business, one of the most criminal things going on, I call it criminal because it's unfair to keep a businessman's money or woman's money beyond a certain period of time. If government just writes a law and say, if you supply and you've supplied the right goods, the right quantity, you should be paid in 30 days, we will not even be talking about interest rates, because there's a cash flow crunch when government does not release money on time. So and that, I think, is an issue of perhaps national funding, and that's a conversation that we'll have when I'm in government. Right now, I want to be in government when I have power. I don't want to go there again like a
we were just hoping you have the ideas now, so that if you get in, you'll be able to resolve it. That's what we're talking about.
So for me, revenue collection in Nairobi is, first of all, you've got to digitize it. and digitize it honestly, not digitize it the Jambo Pay. Jambo Pay means there's a system right now in Nairobi County called Jambo Pay that's really not working.
How about what she said? 80 billion the government owes is not disbursement. Is not what government gives to counties. This is money owed to the Nairobi city government from the national government. To the tune of about 80 billion.
License fee. Land
what would you say?
Professor,
what would you do immediately?
Do they even bill correctly?
Yeah?
Are these bills that are even billed correctly?
I'm just assuming they are correct.
I'm just asking.
Let's assume they are correct. What would you do?
I would go to Treasury and get the money.
You think they have not been going?
You tell me, you work for them?
I do.
Well, he's been before the Senate. I thought you are at the university. Well, no, this is a substantial issue, so let's deal with it substantively. Yes, it has reached the point where the governor had to go to the Senate, to a Senate committee to ask for help in terms of getting Treasury to pay because they would not pay.
Are there innovative ways you can have?
Listen, I don't work for the current administration. I'm just telling you when it's Twendekazi time. What we will do is, first of all, we'll prove our worth by collecting money on time, by not harassing the same businessmen who pay land rates, harassing them every day, charging them, doubling land rates, doubling this and the other, and then expecting that they'll pay you on time. You've got to create goodwill for cash flow to work. Yeah, and this is where I'm telling you there's a problem of bandwidth in the current administration, and we bring a reset bandwidth. We're not just resetting the hardware with our tickets, we're resetting our software too.
Allow me to say this.
Please, go ahead, please.
I know the current Nairobi administration, they're still struggling with the flowers that they promised. They have not done that. They're struggling with basics. They're still struggling with basics. Otherwise, if you owed money, you collect it. And there are various ways of collecting the money. It is a lot easier when the president and the deputy president and the governor and the deputy governor come from the same party.
If you can't plant grass,
please allow me to finish on this. They walk to His Excellency the President and say, tell your minister to tell other ministers to pay us. But when the current governor is flip-flopping, planting grass and removing, is my kinsman, removing chaff from Kolima market, then he's too busy to collect money. Some other monies, you do fiat. There are things you close for the government and they pay you. They have not done that. They just want to use it as political rallies. Oh, we are old. Oh, we are old. Have they ever clamped one cabinet secretary's vehicle? Then they say, now we are not clapping until you pay. Then they'll be paid. But they are not doing all that. And they're just using their propaganda. You don't collect money using propaganda.
And when we come to government, I want to see a government department that will not pay the Nairobi County government, because that is Senator Sonko's political power now. That is where he goes. I told you he's going to be the chief consequence manager when we come in, and he will be using his voting base to go and collect that money.
All right, Manyora, I'm going to come around now for a final round of comments. The man has come, he has sat in the hot seat. Your own observations of him before we get to how you pulled in on this question.
I think I'm not convinced that you can cure inadequacies in Sonko by giving us Polycarp. I'm still doubtful that Polycarp can attract the Kikuyu vote if people are to vote on tribal lines. I am hesitant to say PK will get the votes, but I would advise and perhaps even warn Polycarp to treat carefully. This is a country where people vote on tribal lines, and if the current move by the likes of Kafogo and the rest of these independents and the Mount Kenya Foundation gain momentum, you will be lucky to get 150,000 votes.
Wow. Wada?
I appreciate Mwalimu's fears. You know, as you grow older, you become very cautious and fearful. Now, this is a ticket of vibrant young Kenyans. Go. Look for every vote. Low land, Kikuyu land, everywhere, and you are going to get it. This thing of Kikuyus will not vote, they will not do this, they will not do that. Sonko was rejected by Raila party. Then he moved to the Kikuyu party, and he won. That is the so I think that everything is open, and they have an open mind. Kenyans are open, and everything will work.
All right.
All I'd like to tell Professor is just use a phrase my grandmother uses when I go to see her in Muranga in Samari. She tells me, God bless you. May He bless you that the neighbor's chicken lay eggs in your compound. You wait and see how many eggs in our compound will be laid. And you see, for sure. What is 2 eggs a month? What is 2 eggs a month?
It's turned out to be a comical episode of Game Plan 2017. I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
We had a poll question. We asked you how, to what extent, you believe that Polycarp Igathe will boost Sonko's governor's bid. The poll in 58%, you agree that he will boost it, and 42% saying no, nada, not yet. Thank you so much for polling, and thanks to Polycarp. Of course, sport is coming up next. Michael Kinyi joins us in studio. Stay with us.